All right, everybody, we are live with the Working Fans podcast, and today we got a special guest, independent wrestler that you may have seen on GCW, JCW, Beyond, Limitless. He's definitely been around the circuit. He is 1/4 of the Miracle Generation with Kylan King, Jay Onyx, and Sean Knight, and we are happy to have him on today. It's Dustin Waller. Dustin, thank you for doing the show, sir.
Man, thank you for having me. Appreciate it very much.
So, before you even got into like the wrestling business, before you even were a fan, what was like your early childhood? Like, was wrestling always a part of your childhood? Was it like super in the beginning?
I played sports when I was younger, and I started watching wrestling when I was about like 8 or 9. So me and my dad just got into it. It was like he never watched it, so it was more just something that he was like, "Hey, I've seen this on TV. You want to like maybe try and get into it a little bit?" Because I never really got into like TV shows or watching movies and stuff like that. So it just became like a small little hobby that I started, just a little thing I started watching with my dad on the weekends, going over there watching Raw, SmackDown, whatever pay-per-views might be on, and then it led to like. Then maybe if Raw came to where I live in Connecticut, they came to the XL Center in Hartford, I'd maybe go there, and then maybe wanting to go to a pay-per-view. And then I was like, wow, this is like, and then it became like an obsession, like as everybody did with wrestling. Like, and then when most people grew out of it in like the middle school, high school area, I just didn't. And I just kept staying with it. And I was like, well, I want to actually like do this. And then there was like really nothing else I wanted to do besides wrestle.
Okay, so it got you early. The bug got you early.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, so at the time, who were some of the people you gravitated to, like in your fandom?
Well, when I first started, it was more just like, obviously, I started watching wrestling during the whole Rock and Cena feud for Mania 28. So that's more really got me like captivated into wrestling. Obviously, everyone like loves John Cena when they first start watching wrestling because he's the guy that they marquee as their top guy. So I would see this and I'd see these two larger than life people, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like really, really freaking cool. I want to like just get into this. So I love John Cena. Getting more into independent wrestling. When I first discovered independent wrestling, that's when everything really opened up to me of like, oh wait, there's people that actually like are my size that are doing this. So the first person that I really saw was Ricochet.
Okay.
I went to a Northeast wrestling event and it was him versus Cody Rhodes. And at the time I didn't even know who Ricochet was. I just knew that Cody Rhodes was on a show in my town. And I was like, I want to go see Cody Rhodes. And then I saw that he was wrestling Ricochet, and then I saw him wrestle, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this on TV. Like I want to do this now.
Right.
It just made everything like, holy crap, I can do a lot of stuff now.
Yeah, that's an interesting time. Like, because I mean, if you look at that time period, I feel like, especially with Cody, like he kind of really, obviously the Bucks and, Kenny, a lot of people were already kind of really making a mark for it. But I feel like Cody almost kind of was that extra ingredient that brought the independence to the next level. Like because Cody was this guy that really kind of walked away from big money at the time, and there was no AEW. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to go out here and make a different name for myself. And I think that, it's an interesting time to have been a fan, I'm sure, to see that.
Oh, absolutely. Because he was everywhere at that point. Like, he was literally going to any promotion that he possibly could. And like a lot of people were seeing him. So it was definitely cool to have that experience, especially over in Northeast Wrestling, which is very local to me. So I would go to most of their shows and watch him wrestle like every month.
Have you wrestled for Northeast Wrestling, by the way, separate? I was just kind of wondering.
Yeah. That was like the one real, like, I guess you could say bucket list thing I had on the independent. Yeah. That was like that was the real like main company that I would actually go watch with my dad and be like, we'd go consistently to these shows. So like seeing guys like that I've literally watched wrestle and like bought T-shirts of and taken pictures with are like guys that I've literally wrestled now and that I'm actually close friends with. So it's pretty surreal. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for those who don't know in the area, like Northeast Wrestling puts on some great shows. Like they get like top name talent from around the world too.
Yeah, I love Northeast. It's awesome.
Now, so you said you're going to break in. So how did you end up breaking in, training? What school did you end up going to, and how was that whole process?
So it's actually so much harder to find a school than you would think because there's not a lot of wrestling schools around. Like most people say that the Northeast wrestling scene is like the best wrestling scene, and it is, but there's rarely any schools around. Like you've got like the creative pros, but those are in like Jersey and
Right.
Long Island, which is nowhere near me. It took a good amount of time, but there was a school in Connecticut called Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and it's ran by Paul Roma, Mario Mancini. And I started there when I was a sophomore in high school, so I was about 16. And my mom just said, "Hey, I found this school. You know, if you want to give it a shot, you can do it if you want." Like my mom was never like, obviously, no mom's gonna be the biggest supporter of wrestling, especially for a 16-year-old who's just started high school, pretty much sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Like, why not? Like, you know." And then it was just pretty much just off from the races from there. I just fell in love with it, and I was there every single day, every week, and I was just busting my ass until I guess now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, Richard Holiday is another guy who trained in that school,
Yes.
right? Too. Yeah. Were
Yeah.
you around the same class?
Oh yeah, he had a huge hand in myself and even Kylon and Haven's training. Like he's absolutely amazing. Like he definitely took us under his wing early on when we first started. Like he would take us to shows that he would be on and try to get us on small little maybe pre-show matches or something like that. And like most people say that you learn the most in the car rides, and that's absolutely the biggest truth. Because maybe you'll drive 4.5 hours to go wrestle for 15 minutes. Like so, you spend most of your time in the car than you ever do even at the freaking show. So like it's just those car rides are awesome, and Rich is just an awesome guy. We love him. He's awesome.
Mm. Yeah, they say. I mean, you hear a lot of veteran trainers say too. One of the critiques of them is that not enough people will go up to them and pick their brains and talk to them and stuff too. And I'm guessing that's something that you try to do every chance you get if you have somebody that's got a wealth of experience.
Oh, absolutely. Like, but what's the worst thing they're gonna say is no, I'm busy right now. Like I always just think of it like that. Like
Right.
if I see someone like that's on a show, I'm like, hey, this is my match. Can you possibly like watch this if you don't mind? And if they say yeah, then oh yeah, absolutely. Like the one guy that I will say that literally will watch every single person's match and give everyone feedback is Speedball Mike Bailey.
Wow.
He like and Speedball is such an awesome. I love Speedball. Like it's someone that like again someone that myself, Kylon, hey, like we watched this guy on like we watched the PWG highlights, and then we'd watch all of his work with like Will Ospreay, all these like top guys, and now we're like someone that he comes up to us in a locker room and says, hey, like because he now knows our stuff because we've been on so many shows with him, so he's like, this is what you got to do, you got to change this, do this, and like so he just gives so much good feedback. Like he sees wrestling so differently, and it's just he's an awesome guy. And there's so many guys in so many locker rooms that will just like that, like giving back, and that's just what you love to see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, what are some things to do? Because obviously you've already gone to wrestling school. You've been wrestling for a little while now. What are things like you do to stay sharp? Are there wrestling schools you just stop by at, or is it just mainly keeping busy with independent dates? Or how do you stay sharp?
It's definitely just getting the reps in for sure. Like I'm very like me and Carolina are very fortunate to have like a solid like maybe 3 to 4 bookings a weekend. So like what even if you don't get a chance to train, you're in the ring a lot the entire weekend. And then it's also going to the gym during the week as well. So definitely staying in shape, health wise, obviously diet and just cardio in general. So I think the cardio aspect, wrestling every single weekend is definitely keeping up with it for sure. So we're very fortunate to have those reps. But like, yeah, if we're, I was already talking to like Kylon about like if we're ever in different places, like we definitely just would love to just stop into a school and, if it's like $25 a session, just go in there and learn from different people because you can always take something in from anyone,
Sure.
which is the best part about wrestling. You can never stop learning.
Right. Yeah. And there's so many different generations out there. Stuff like you might find somebody doing seminars, like, yeah, you don't know. So,
Yeah.
we had Drew, the promoter, Drew Cordero from Beyond Wrestling on, and he was explaining Wrestling Open to
Yeah.
us, which I thought was a great concept. He was talking about how basically it's almost like an open mic night for pro wrestling. Kind of people just sign up. What has Wrestling Open been like for you?
Man, like wrestling open is huge for me. Like especially for me and Kylon. Like I don't know if we'd be anywhere close to where we are right now if it wasn't for wrestling open. Like we started going to uncharted territory for Beyond Wrestling about a year ago, literally like a year ago this month. And we were just we Shook Crew, they were the ones that told us, hey, they got this like tag team discovery gauntlet, and like just go help out, and you never know, you might get in there. We weren't even really a tag team at this point. We were just like me and Kyle, we came up in the business together, so we trained together. So we were like, it'd always be cool to be a tag team, but we started as singles guys. So it was just always in the back of our heads, like tag team wrestling would be cool. So we went to the uncharted territories, and we just go there and set up the ring and do whatever we needed to do, drive the hour and a half just to sit there and watch a show. And then it came to a point where, like, almost a month after just going there, Drew said, "Hey, there, you guys want to face the Brick City Boys at Uncharted?" And we're like, "Yep, sure, absolutely." Like, we're here. We're like, he's never, like, he barely even saw us wrestle once. He just knew that we were just these guys that were just we were there on Thanksgiving last year, and I think that's really like what showed him. He was like, "Wow, like these guys aren't even booked on the show, and they're just gonna come and help out on Thanksgiving night." So, and then Drew came to me and Kai with the idea. He was like, "I have this idea for like this promotion, like a wrestling open." Like, he gave us the concept, and like it's like open mic night. Just have people like you guys that just come and like give opportunities to people that show up and just want that. They just need that one opportunity, because all it takes is one match. Like, and it sounds so cliche, but it seriously is true. Because then we had the Uncharted Territory match. We ended up going on to win the Tag Team Discovery Gauntlet. And I think like Wrestling Open has definitely like helped myself and so many other people just like shoot their careers to the top. And it's just so awesome to see it.
And people may not understand this too, especially if not in the area. But Beyond Wrestling, like their YouTube channel is like, it's the second or third biggest right now. Like it's like got 3.5 million subscribers. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And as far as Wrestling Open goes, you have people stopping in like an open night. Like you have guys like Real Yuta now stopping in, John Silver stopping in. So
yeah, and the guys like that usually come in do seminars. So it's that's another great thing, is like you get to learn from them. And like it's I think Wrestling Open is just an awesome concept. And Drew says it every week on every Thursday. He's like, everyone better stay here and like keep consistently doing it before someone else rips off this concept, because someone else is going to take it.
Right.
Someone's going to try it because it's working so well. And like I think right now in the Northeast, we're like the only consistent like a weekly wrestling show that's just going on weekly every single Thursday. Like, and he says it every Thursday forever, and he means it. We're never stopping.
It's a fantastic idea. I don't know like if people get it, but like I've been a fan of this for years, and like one of the common things you can draw to actually is like stand-up comedy, in the sense that comedians have to sometimes alter their routine in front of different crowds, or finding your voice and stuff. And so open mic nights too, right? You have like your greats that want to like work on new stuff, and to me it's like an open mic night for wrestling. It makes so much sense. You have people like Silver, or someone who can stop in and work on stuff, and then you have all these hungry new young lions coming up trying. It just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, literally, like it's such a cool concept for the fans as well, because you never know what match is going to happen. They announce a few matches, but then you just have your poster announced as so and so is going to be here. You don't know who they're going to wrestle, but you just know that all these people are here, and you're like, oh my god, what if this guy wrestles this guy, or this girl wrestles this girl? I'm like, you never know who's going to be with who. And then when they started bringing in like you said, like they're bringing in some of the names now. Like they're bringing in guys to do seminars and then work some of the younger talent. Like I was shocked when I wrestled Real Yuta. But it was hands down the craziest match of my life. Like it was such a crazy experience. So yeah, I think Wrestling Open is just growing so much. And now they got their wrestling school coming up soon in January. So that's going to be another huge opportunity, because people are definitely going to want to go to this wrestling school now. It's ran by Ken Doan and Thomas Santel.
Yeah.
So like two great minds. So it's just going to be, I like, it's Wrestling Open's awesome. And I think the whole Beyond legacy is like literally going to live on forever.
I think you're right. Now we have a question in the comments. I was actually going to ask you anyway if you'd had any major injuries or anything, but one of the questions, maybe you can combine this in the comments. Wrestling is so hard on the body. What does Dustin like to do for recovery? So any injuries, and even if not, what's your normal recovery process like?
I think the most serious like injury that I've had in wrestling was recently when I got my concussion. Mm-hmm. But I haven't really gotten like a serious like a broken bone or anything like that, like a serious injury from wrestling. But I think, well, actually, like episode 1 or episode 2 of Wrestling Open, I wrestled Alec Price and I broke my ankle. So that was something, but it's nothing like there hasn't been anything like career threatening.
Right.
But I think the biggest was definitely that concussion when I got knocked out at GCW about like a month or two ago. And I think recovery for that was just, of course, like even the doctor said it, like you're going to feel fine in 2 days, but just wait as long as you can. Like that was something that usually, like even when I messed up my ankle at Open. I definitely came back way too soon, but that's different because it's like your ankle. Like this is your brain. Like you can't mess around with your head because we've heard all the stories. You hear all the things that go on. So I took the month. Like they told me to take 2 weeks because it was a minor concussion, but I took the month just to be 100%.
Sure, that's awesome.
Just to be. And I had other wrestlers who like also got concussions that were like telling me like just take the full time, like take the full time. So I definitely think the concussion was the serious, but it's definitely take more time than needed, especially with wrestling because it's such a demanding sport on your body that like you want to be 110% every time you go in the ring.
Absolutely, and you want longevity in this too. Yeah, so it makes sense. Like, yeah. So one of the other questions we had here: what was some of the best advice you've gotten along the way?
Ooh, I could say two. One of the best. It's kind of a funny piece of advice, but it's more just it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission.
Mm-hmm.
That like I feel like that's just a piece of advice that people get in life as well.
Yeah.
But that's just a piece of advice that can work with literally anything. There's no exact scenario that goes with, but always ask for forgiveness instead of permission. It's always a good one. And then never be afraid to say no. You know,
Right.
there's always situations where like people think like, oh, I want to do this though, but I might want to get here. Like it's always okay to say no. It's not going to ruin any opportunity that you might get, especially in wrestling, because like there's like now the independent scene is so like demanding. Like even just 10 years ago, it was nothing like this. Like it's huge now. So I definitely think it's all right to say no in certain situations. So that's definitely a good piece of advice I've gotten.
And what would some of your goals be for 2023 coming up?
I'm not really a huge goal person.
Mhm.
And if I was here with Kai, he has so many goals. Like he loves having goals now. Like I think for me, like my goal is just my next match and just making sure it's the best it could possibly be. Like the stuff that's happened over the past year, I couldn't even imagine was going to happen. So I have right now my real goal just to make perfect is we got the Restival coming up at the end of December, and I just want that to be spot on. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but we'll ask if you want to go into it. How did the Miracle Generation kind of come about?
Yeah, so the four of us, we all trained together. We all came up in wrestling together. I think I started there first, then Haven showed up, and then Kylon showed up. So it was like a good year span of all of us being there, and we all just clicked pretty much because we were all the guys around the same age group, and we all had the same passion for wrestling, the same amount of passion. Like we were just willing to drop everything and wrestle. So we all always said, "Oh, it'd be cool if we like start our own fashion and stuff like that. Like, that'd be so cool if we were like a group together or something." And when me and Kai were offered the Uncharted Territory spot, they're like, "You guys need a tag name," and then we were like, "Well, I guess this is the time to do it. Might as well just say we're Miracle Generation because that's pretty much all we got." So we ended up doing that, and then when Haven came into Wrestling Open, we ended up just going up to Drew and just being like, "Hey, like we're just this is all of us. Like, can we just do this?" And he was like, "Absolutely, go for it." So he has no problem with it, and now everyone knows that everyone already knew all of us for just traveling together.
Mhm.
So now they just know us as it's just Miracle Generation. So like it's definitely cool to just have a small idea that we had when we were training now actually be this big thing like plastered on a platform like IWTV. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is awesome. Now it's Dustin Waller on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Is there any upcoming matches or anything else you want to promote while you got a chance here?
Upcoming matches, I think maybe not matches, but we got this tag team endurance tournament that's going on Thursday at Open, so that's going to be pretty unique. I'm excited to see what goes on with that. Friday we're going to be at Grind Pro Wrestling, wrestling MSP in their tag team tournament, and I don't believe in anything Saturday, but Sunday we've got Fight Life,
Mm-hmm.
over in I believe Rhode Island. So that Fight Life is an awesome place. You got some awesome guys
Oh
up
yeah,
there. So I'm definitely pretty excited. So yeah, got a good weekend to show so far.
yeah. People definitely. If you're in the Northeast has some great independence.
Oh,
You can't really go wrong. Um,
absolutely.
any merchandise you have out there right now?
ProWrestlingTees.com says Dustin Waller. So you got Pro Wrestling Tees. And I think that's it. That's about it for merchandise now. I got my hats at the merchandise table. Gotta get a .com website soon.
That's all right. So that's good. So, and I mean, it sounds to me like mostly everything you do goes into your matches and who you are, and you're living for the moment, man. I think it's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all. I appreciate you doing the show today, Dustin. And we hope to have you back on again sometime because I have a feeling you're going to do really well in this business. I love your attitude, and we appreciate your time.